everybody and welcome to this guide for Expert Division and its playthrough. And the video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also visit golfclashchannel.com for our new win chart, but also all other type of content for Golf Clash. Last but not least, get the text guides, the best tournament text guides on patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Tough tournament coming up. We will not be expecting to drop every shot like we have been on the other hole, but you never know what we're gonna come to when it's in the weekend round. But please, this is a playthrough. This is the beginning of the tournament. Make sure that you check out the latest streams and the latest content on the channel to keep yourself up to date. But because obviously we are going to tweak adjustment, we might going to add an alternative adjustment once we have been playing the holes more and more. But this is the start, and listen and focus on the info box on the right hand side. Elevation for the drive and the second shot. Then you do have the ball and the club that I think is going to be key to approaching the specific holes in Expert Division. Enough talks about that, so let's go to hole number 1. For hole number 1, we are going to start with Mr. Topper. Big Topper. We're using a Kingmaker ball to give ourselves the distance. Max top spin and as much side spin to the right possible. And here you can play with a lower level Big Topper, but you then most likely need to go with a little bit of overpower, especially with Big Toppers level 2, level 3. You don't have to play with a Big Topper. You can play with an Apocalypse or a Thor Samurai if you do have a decent amount of topspin reaching over the rough there. But the plan here from my end is to give ourselves such a nice distance that we're going to have around a mid-distance mid-distance short iron towards the pin with not maybe dead on straight headwind, but as close as possible. Half a ball of curl to the right, and we're going to go with a tiny bit of overpower as we drop down to a lower point. Great left is still gonna be fine here. Great right would still also be fine, and we do have a lot of room for error. 20% over adjustment, and just to mention with the drive as well, I know there's plenty of you playing with Apocalypse in a decent level. Do not forget that you can try out a power slice. Or, you know, power hook or whatever it's called from that distance, and then you can give yourself maybe a nice line. The only thing to have in mind though is that it is hard to get that one consistent, and we do want to have at least a chance towards the pin and not getting stuck in the rough. So 1 backspin, 6 right spin, and here I would say side spin is going to be fairly important, as I do want to try to get the top of the ball guideline to be aligned with the wind as much as it possible can. And ball guideline a bit through the hole, just a little bit, and then we're going to adjust medium distance, 10% over adjustment here for this shot. And you're gonna notice here, once we do have adjusted and once we take our shot to see the result, we're going to notice that we're going to miss this one just slightly, and that is something that we definitely can correct. And we bounce, but it do need a little bit more adjustment. If we would be playing this one 60% club instead of mid like as 50, then we would be getting that one in the hole. Good opportunity, and also using the clubs that we're having, using the Big Topper, then using the short iron that we feel the most comfortable with. It's gonna be a good start here for hole number 1. So for hole number 2, we are going to play with the Sniper. 6.5 bar backspin, which is maximum with Sniper 9, Sniper 10. Have in mind now, before we continue with the video, almost dead on straight headwind is what we're having here. The only thing that could be a little issue here is the fact that we do make a misadjustment. Ball guideline to the hole is what we want to do with the white ring by the top, or like the start of the fringe. Maximum distance with an 20% over adjustment, then it's time to take our shot. The thing that I would like us to do here is to always try to have 7 miles per hour, like somewhere around 6.5 to 7.5, which is going to be either with a Kingmaker or it's going to be with a power 3 wind 4, like Mummy Ball, Centurion, Vintage. Like there's plenty of wind 4 power 3 balls. I can also stretch towards, you can move your target even further up using the blue ring by the fringe there, each for their own, but this is going to be a super good opportunity here in Expert, trying to get on a hole-in-one already in the beginning. For hole number 3 here in Expert, we are going to play, as in every other division, 4.5 bar topspin is what we're using together with 2 bars of left spin. And here in the end, everyone, you can play with more topspin, then obviously you don't have to push up anything in the end. The thing that I'm doing here once I'm done is that I push up as much as 2 rings, or like even 2.5 rings here, changing them to 2. So the thing that I would like you to do here is only push it up 1 ring. It's enough with 1 ring, otherwise we will danger clipping the first piece of rough and then obviously roll down on the, you see here on the camera angle, it shows that we're just going to clip the rough, we roll out to the fairway. Still no problem to reef for the green in 2 though, but however, we need to make sure that we are not clipping that freaking rough, because then the second shot is going to be much harder. Like, we are still going to get to the green, but we will have no possibility, in my opinion, to make a decent eagle. 20% over adjustment for the second shot, and the only thing that I need you to have in mind, if it shows that you need to push up anything, and it shows that you need to push up 3 rings, then you push up 1. So you, let's say it does show that you should push up 1 ring in the end, then you don't push up anything, for an example. So very, very important to have that in mind with the push-up strategy, so you don't fall into the rough there. 20% over adjustment for the second shot, 10% for the drive for hole number 3. For hole number 4, we're going to experience one of the tougher par 3s in the whole game, in my opinion. And we can play 2 ways. First, if we do have the Rocket or a Thor Sammer level 6, we can use that club and go directly at pin. You can see that the ball guideline is going to be very glitchy, so I would recommend to move up a little bit from the bottom left part of the fairway there to use a little bit higher first type of bounce. The thing that I'm looking for here is to offset, to let the ball guideline show that we will miss left hand side, and to rely on the wind to push us to the right to get there. The problem we do have here now is that when we adjust from a higher to a lower point, which means that we either need to use a little overpower like you can see here I'm doing in the video, or we need to push up a ring after our adjustment. Unfortunately, I do hit great here, so this shot is not really something that we can see, because we come in with a decent speed, but in the end we miss way to the left due to a great left there. Another alternative that I want to show you is if you want to use a sniper, you might not have the Rocket, or you might not feel comfortable to push up or something like that. Then you can play 3 left spin and 1 bar of top spin, red ring by the rough line, ball guideline to the hole, and then we're going to adjust for medium distance with a 10% over adjustment, which is going to be 1 to 1. So for 9.1, we are going to adjust 9.1 rings. This adjustment here is not really an hole-in-one adjustment, in my opinion. Sure, the hole-in-one is there, but you have 3 bounces here to rely on to go your way. But it could be a safe way for you to play with a club that you're more familiar with, and then get to the green and take the birdie. You can see the speed wise it comes in very nicely. We're just too much to the left, so we either need to add more left spin, or we need to use a little counter curl, or we can also add a bit more rings. For hole number 5, we are going to use a driver that gives us the most topspin possible. And in our case, it's going to be an Apocalypse level 5. Have in mind that I've been playing this drive with a driver all the way down to an extra mile level 5 without an issue. And the difference is going to be one thing, that is going to be overpower. Here, max topspin, which is 6 bars and as much side spin to the left possible. We stretch out so we can see how many rings into overpower we should be going to see the second bounce on the other fairway. In this case, it's 5, because we are having the bottom white ring just into max overpower. So we adjust maximum distance plus 10. Then we push up our target 5 rings, which in this case is in max overpower. And then we're going to go with a slight amount of curl to the left to just straighten the ball out, so we're not dropping it too much to the right, especially with a great right. Getting that one nicely over to the fairway and land for a very nice short iron towards the pin. And Again, I cannot stress that enough. It's very important that you measure and you take a look if you do have a different type of club. Extra Mile, Thor's Hammer is going to have less distance than Unpockets Level 5. Not much, but a little bit. And therefore, it could be important or could be necessary to play with either a Titan that you give yourself more wind, or that you go with a little bit of overpower if you're going to stay with a Kingmaker. Second shot here, you're playing with the short iron that you feel the most comfortable with. Very important. And now we need to stay away from one thing, and that is the glitch that is on the right side. So if we under adjust, or if we hit great right, we're gonna most likely see this ball roll massively, like over the green or onto the fringe, or just stay long on the green. But if we do hit perfect and we adjust it properly, we're gonna see ourselves many of the times get this one nicely in for an hole-in-one. So there is a little iffy spot there, have that in mind. Now we do under adjust, as you will notice, and then we do get the glitch there, and we didn't get the ball to fall back down. It's not any risk for the birdie, but it's something that is very important to have in mind. And I like to use right spin here because I don't really like to play over the hill, over the slight hill there to the right. So that is how I approach hole number 5. For hole number 6, we are going to play with our Extra Mile, and we are going to play with a sniper in our bag. Here we go with 6 bars of topspin and as much side spin to the right possible, and we are going to play with a maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment. Take a look at the ball guideline. We want that ball guideline to show that we're going right down the center there. As said, max plus 10 is our adjustment, and we're playing with a Kingmaker as well. And you know, even though we're spending a lot of Kingmakers, I think the Kingmaker here is very valuable to reduce the wind, especially when we do want to stay away from getting into the rough. So especially with a great left here, a Titan ball with a very high wind would or could be a problem for us in the long run. We're getting it down there nice and easy, getting some roll, and then we're going to approach the pin here from this. You can see that I'm looking first and foremost for a rough bump here, but I chicken out. And the reason I do chicken out is because we are going to adjust from a lower to a higher point, which means that I have to pull back my adjustment, and that's going to make it very easy to miss that rough. But you can see there is a funnel that we can play with. And that's definitely something that we are going to look into more and more. Here you can see a stuck ball guideline here, and we are going to have, you know, see the red ring by the rough line ball guide, a little short of pin, and then we're going to adjust this one for medium distance with no elevation. The problem we have here is that we hit great left. Otherwise, with a perfect, as you probably will notice, that with a perfect ball, we would not be missing that much left. I'm not saying that we would have dropped it, but it would be pretty darn close getting that one in for a nice albatross. For hole number 7, we are going to do a double bounce here, meaning we're bouncing on the fairway into the rough, roll out towards the pin. You can see that we're using a little bit more than 2 bars of topspin, so at 2.2 bars, changing that one in the end to go to 3.2 bars to have enough topspin to get the ball guideline to the hole. This is going to be a difficult hole to play with a Goliath, especially in a lower level, as the ball guideline is not as good. So the thing that I want you to look at the position with my rings here. Half of the red ring inside the rough, second bounce just before the cutoff between the dark and the a little bit less dark rough. Maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment, and obviously a side spin 3 ball here is super duper valuable. You're gonna notice that we're gonna come in a little bit too much to the left here, but we do have a good roll towards the pin. So what do we want to do? We do want to reduce the topspin a little bit. So we do want to play with like 2.5 bar topspin instead of playing with the 3.2 that we're using there. Tough hole because it's a lot of things that's gonna do right here for hole number 7. I must say here, guys, that I do not really like this situation in this hole, but As this is an extremely difficult hole to get a drop from distance, as we have a very elevated second shot, we're going to try to go for green here. And I'm going to use 6 bars of top spin, 4.5 bars side spin to the right, and then again try to go for green. I'm going to try to get my ball to bounce on the fairway in between the 2 tree sections that we are having, then over to the other side, either clip the first fairway and bounce to green, or just clip the rough on the right hand side and roll out. Maximum distance with a 20% over adjustment, push up to max, then it's time to go max over power. Have in mind here though that with a bad great left, you are risking the water. That is unfortunately something that you do. Gladly enough, we do not clip the rough, but we do get into the bunker. And the problem here though is not that we are having a bad wind, because from the bunker we are going to put ourselves with a dead on straight tailwind towards the pin for the eagle, which I consider being better than having a 45% elevated long iron for a rough bump to the pin for the second shot. So here I'm taking the risk and see it as rewarding no matter where we end up. And obviously if we do go green or very close to green, I'm gonna be super pleased, because then it's gonna be a very safe eagle. Berserker ball, if you do have a wind with this type of wind, like a 12 mile per hour, and you're playing with an Apocalypse level 6, 7 or 8, try to take off a little bit of overpower and go with max topspin, because you have more topspin on those clubs than what you do have on the Apocalypse level 5. In the end, whatever you do to get there, then that's gonna be the case. And you know, this shot is also going to be possible with an Extra Mile level 8, Apocalypse level 4, but when we go down to Extra Mile level 7, Apocalypse 3, Thor's Hammer 3, 4, then I would see that as an absolute no-go. Last but not least, we're gonna end up in the way that we are playing basically all the other par 5s here with the Extra Mile and the Sniper. And we're using, in this case, max left spin and using 4 bars of top spin. I would highly suggest though to, if you do have more top spin, which we do have even with a lower Extra Mile, to use 4.5 or 5 bars of top spin instead, because the thing that I misread here is the fact that we actually have a little bit of headwind. You can see that we do have a little bit of headwind here, and in the end we do want to just add a tad more topspin, so we're getting over nice and easy here on the fairway. Maximum distance with a 10% over adjustment, and you can see here now we did get a little extra glitchy roll here, but we cannot count on that all the time, but we do need that little bit extra distance. Second shot, we are going for the green, obviously. So we're gonna adjust and leave the ball guide line slightly short of pin, as we do have a little bit of tailwind to adjust for. And then I'm using 2 to 4 bars of side spin to the right, depending on, you know, position towards the pin, because I also want the side spin to kind of correct the ball guide line once I have the first bounce on the fairway, so I'm not so the wind doesn't push me too much left. Here I do play maximum distance with no elevation. Here you could mixture with elevation and add 5 or 10% depending on the distance of the distance towards the pin. So here, for an example, you see we're coming in pretty hot, but here it would be good to actually, you know, back up our target a little bit and then maybe remove a little bit of our adjustment, so to compensate for that. Tough one to get a correct speed with, has always been a tough par 5. So this one, even though it's with a Sniper, if you drop this one, major bonus. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Expert, and I must say this is going to be a difficult tournament, and not difficult per se in terms of, you know, getting -12, because that we should be getting. Sure, we can make mistakes, but we should be at least having, if we, with a mistake-free round, we do a -12. Getting a drop or two here is going to be massive, absolutely massive. I see hole number 2, hole number 5, and also hole number 8 as the best opportunities that we're having. I'm not expecting much to drop here, but you know, we need to really earn it. So in my book, I think we're gonna see people winning here in Expert around -28, minus 29, maybe stretch it to minus 30 as well. But what do you think is gonna win in expert this go around? Make sure that you do comment if you do have any questions. Also get the best tournament text guides on patreon.com/golfclashtommy. Join Discord, link to Discord in the description down below. Video sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. Good luck in the tournament.